Hello and welcome back once again. So today we are going to be, I think we're going to be completing the ETL process by saying that we're going to integrate Dagster. So Dagster will enable us to be, it will act like a quarterback, enabling us to run our entire ETL process, the extraction, transformation, and the loading process. So I think in the previous videos, I was able to take you through the entire ETL process. That means how we are getting that data from Blackblaze as our S3 bucket. Then I was able to create the different components, and within those components, we're able to explain how we will want our transformation process to take place. That means we are getting the raw data and we are trying to create more features based on that raw data. So we had, I think, 4 tables, and within each tables we're able to define what extra features we would want to extract from that data, and those features will enable us to actually build the ML model. So I think in the previous video we were able to explain all that. So today we are going to see how we can knit this together and using Dagster for that process. So Dagster will act as our quarterback. That means it will be that single source of entry within our ETL process, and with Dagster it's able to automate the entire ETL process, the extraction, transformation, and the loading. I think in the first video I was able to take you through the entire architecture on how we are going to build this system. And so during that process, I was able to introduce you to Feast, which will be our feature store. And with Feast, it enables us to build ML models in the sense that we're able to curate a way that it can make offline predictions, and also it can make the real-time predictions. For the offline predictions, definitely in our case, as I had said earlier, is that we're going to use BigQuery. So BigQuery will be our offline store. Then for the real-time predictions, we need a database that is actually suited for that. And in most cases, I think Redis is one of the best databases that we can use to actually build the real-time predictions. So for example, when the shipment arrives, we'll want to get the predictions based how the spoilage risk once the shipment arrives. So for us to actually get that information as quickly as possible, then Redis will be of much help, because it's able to it enables us to actually build a real-time prediction engine based on that. So, and how do we get to that? So that means that we need to have updated our feature store so that whenever predictions we are getting, we are relying on the most up-to-date data. Okay, and so how do we achieve that? Then we need the service of Redis, because this can be created as a job that will be running in the server on the backend in the background. That means we can set it to run daily or after every 2 weeks, depending on how it suits our case. So let's see how we're going to fix Dagster when it comes to integrating this within our machine learning model. And also today, we'll be showing you how to create a BigQuery and how to set up the permissions and all that, so that we're able to run this system. Okay, so hopefully at the end of this, we will have set up Dagster, and we'll also set up BigQuery as our store. Then we can run the entire ETL process with the Dagster as our quarterback for that matter. Okay, so let's see how do we integrate a Dagster when it comes to this. So inside my the ETL, so I'm working inside the ETL folder. So I created this folder, Dagster assets. So Dagster assets contains the ETL assets. So under the ETL assets, it's something simple. We're just defining of course, each component has a specific pipeline. So that's how granular we wanted our build to be, so that we're able to debug a single pipeline without interfering with the entire script. And also this is good when it comes to managing your code, other than building the entire pipeline into a single file. So each component has a respective, you can run it exclusively using its pipeline. Okay, so these are the inputs for the different pipelines. So as you can see, we have the different tables. So yeah, so we have the dimension products, we have the sensor telemetry data, so that was also a table in itself. Then we have the sales inventory, then we have the store, and also we have the entity table. So this is the spoilage spine. So this is the table that Feast will use to populate with the other features. So at the moment, as you can see, we're just working with the individual tables one by one. We are not going to amalgamate them into a single table. That work will be done by Feast, so we don't need to do that or define it right now. We'll define it later. Then we have to set date time. These are the inputs for Dagster, and then this is the input for Feast. So one thing that I've done is that once we run the ETL, there's that process of materialization that we also need to do. So, but that falls under Feast. I won't be talking about that under this, because at the moment we just want to work with the Dagster. Okay, so with Dagster, you have to define those as assets. So even if you want to find more about this, then I think let me see. I think can I find it? No, this modify review. So you can just do a quick search and try to find out when I'm talking about assets, what do I mean when I'm talking about assets? So what is assets definition? Definition in Dagster. Yeah, asset definition in Dagster. So when you're talking about asset definition, so in Dagster, an asset is a persistent data object, such as a database table, file, or machine learning model, coupled with the code and upstream dependencies used to produce it. So when you're talking about Dagster, so key components of the Dagster asset. So we are talking about the asset key, the global identifier. So I think I've also defined that, if I'm not wrong. So I think these are my identifiers, so the retail dimensions and so on. Then when it comes to computation function, Python function used to annotate usually annotated with an asset decorator that builds or updates the data. I think that one I've also defined. So this is the Python function. Then this is the decorator itself. So with when you're defining this, as you can see, for each pipeline, I've tried to define each function. I'm calling each function. Then I'm creating the decorator, the asset decorator. Then this is the pipeline itself. So I'm just calling the dimension store ETL pipeline. So I'm just calling that pipeline. So each table has we created a table for each pipeline. Then we are collecting all those pipelines to be executed within this ETL assets. Now allowing Dagster to automate the entire practice. In some other cases, you can create a main.py for this, but for production purposes, at least Dagster can enable you to handle this process effectively. So I'll try to launch Dagster, and you're able to see how it appears. Or I can launch the UI. Then from the UI, you're able to see how easier it is to use. Easier it is to use Dagster. Then yeah, so I'm defining the assets. So the asset, the group name, the metadata assigned to this. So BigQuery table, dimension store, engine, polars. So these are just metadata. Then each table has its defined asset. Then as you can see, we have defined that. Then I think asset. Why Dagster uses assets declarative approach. You define what data should exist rather than manually chaining the step-by-step task. So if we had created this manually, let's say using the main.py file. In most cases, main.py, or you can name it in other ways. So you'll have done that again step by step. So that's one process that we try to avoid. Then built-in lineage. I think when I launch the UI, you're able to see that lineage. Then you're able to set it that it should follow a sequence. For example, if I cannot create my entity table without creating the other tables. So entity tables always comes last. Okay. So assets. So you can read more documentation about Dagster. So there is much you can read about Dagster if you want to add other things. But what I tried to do is just to only work with what is not permissible, but what, let's say, ML engineers will actually really need when it comes to building these pipelines. Okay, so that's why assets order transformation. So something like this. Then you can add the metadata and so on. So you can read more of this, but for me, I just did an abstraction so that I don't bog you down with a lot of information. Okay, so once you define your assets, then these are my assets. Then this will be for Feast. So I will create a separate video. Then I will be able to explain what I mean by creating a Feast here. So Feast online store. So for the online store, we need to sync it with the when you are running the entire pipeline, we need to sync that with the online store so that it gets updated once the ETL process is once we complete running the ETL process. Feast should also kick from there, but I'll explain that when we get to that point. Even for now, what I can do, I can just comment this, unless it will cause issues, but I'll just comment this out. Once we are finished with the feature store, then I'll just uncomment this. Then once we run this, the ETL process, it will run the ETL process plus updating the feature store, especially for the online store. Okay. So again, Dagster is very simple. You can just define all your assets, import your pipelines, define that as an asset. Then you call your function. So you pass that function under the decorator. The context log. So this is just a logging message that we log this as a message, and then this is the pipeline itself. Then we are calling the pipeline. So df pipeline run, that means is inference. That means if you're running this for inference, you'll have to specify that this is for inference. Inference meaning that I'm assuming this is not for training purposes. This is for making predictions. So if it's not training, then it's like you have sample data that you want to get the predictions from. So that means that we have made our pipeline to handle both inferencing and also a real-time prediction. And also, because I'm working locally, that means this pipeline can also run. That means I've tried to make it suitable for the different scenarios. If I move this to the server, it will work because I'm not working on my local workstation. If I'm working locally, then I can still work with it, and so on. That's why those are some of the updates I tried to also include under this. So I think for now we do have our Dagster assets. So before I proceed, then once you create your asset, there is this folder you also need to create, the definitions. So these are the definitions. So this is where you define. So again, you import this from Dagster. Then I also import the assets. So this is the assets, and this is the GCP client. Once we create our BigQuery, I'm going to show you how we are going to create this. Then so this is the BigQuery IO manager. I think this one is for BigQuery. This is for when you are loading that data. So plus BigQuery, assert selection, and the definitions. So yeah, again, I think we need the definitions. Let me see. Definitions in Dagster, if I'm not wrong. but I think we need this file. So definitions Dagster, a set of definitions explicitly available and loadable by Dagster tools. Is a central class and a project manifest used to bundle and load all. Yeah, I think I remember why we need that. So central registry acts as a primary mechanism to tell Dagster what code object exists in a specific location, and definitions. Yeah, jobs, assets, key arguments accepted, software defined asset. Yeah. Oh, okay. Now I remember. So then once you have your because I'm using PyProject as my package manager, you also need to define the definitions under the PyProject STOML file. Yeah. Then for the definitions, IO manager, text the GCP. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So okay, this is also another file. I think I'm missing the context behind this when I was working with it. But again, you can just read the documentation and then it will guide you on why that file. I think I had a nice definition about this. Why use definitions in when setting up Dagster? Okay, let me see. When setting up Dagster, yeah, you can just search this because all this information and I have a lot of on my plate to handle, tend to forget. So using definitions, Dagster centralizes your project components, enables the UI and manages the environment. It bundles assets, schedules, and resources into a single object. Okay. So because we are going to use Dagster as a job, then definitions will help us to assert that type of logic. So definitions will handle that. It's like can I call it a registry, like a manual that tells Dagster what and what not to do, something like that. So I think with that one, what Dagster, then a central registry access manifest that tells Dagster what asset jobs. Yeah, this is what I wanted because as I told you, we are going to Dagster will act like it has to be running daily so that we're able to update our features to have the latest records or features, because you're also building for online predictions and they need to work with the most updated data. And so because you're going to set this as a job, let's say running after every 24 hours, then the definitions will bear that information, trying to explain that you should be running this as a job after at exactly 11:30 p.m., something like that. Okay, so that's what definitions actually will enable us to do that. Okay, so once you've set your definitions and the Dagster, once you've set up your definitions and the Dagster itself, then let me show you how we can integrate. Let me show you how we can. So let me show you how you can now create the BigQuery for those who don't have or haven't set it up yet. So I'll show you how to set it up. So for BigQuery, the first thing you need to do, the goodness also BigQuery, they're offering us free space. You can have, it's about one terabyte. I'm not sure about that, but they are offering enough space to actually build demo projects. So that's why I also chose BigQuery and also Feast. There's that integration with the Feast. So how about BigQuery? So you have to go to BigQuery. You can just type BigQuery, you land on this page, then you can maneuver or just do a search on BigQuery. So again, you need to understand that you need to have a Google email to actually access this. So set up Google email if you don't have, because people tend to use different types of email. So once you have that set up, I think if you don't have, so once you land at the Google Cloud, I think so. Google Cloud, I think in most cases you can land on this. So you need, if you don't have Streamline Cloud, I don't know this. So if you don't have Google from Google Cloud, you need to create your project. So it's a must you create your project. So once you've landed here, you need to create a project. And how do you do that? So I think if you don't have a project, it will prompt you to do that. But if you want to create a new project, so create a new project, so you click on that, then you're able to create your project name. Provide the project name. And I don't have an organization, but you can, if you have, you can add it. Then you can just click on create. So once you've clicked create, you'll have your entire project, I think, set up. So once you have your project set up, okay, so now assuming that I have my project set up, so let's see what's the next thing that you're going to do. So once your project is set up, then I'll maneuver to, I think, I am and admin. Then under I am, you'll have to, click I am. I think where you set up your permissions and things like that. So once you click on that, I think you'll find this. Initially, you'll find your email address like this. You'll find your email, but we have to set service account, if I'm not wrong. So you'll have to set a service account. So I'll go to the service account. Under service account, I'll have to create a service account. So I'll create a service account. Then I'll service name. So let me just use any name. So let's say retail. Just okay. Retail. So the email address you'll be using is this. Then you can give a description. Retail store. Give it a name. Then I'll just optional. I'll just leave this the way they are. So then I'll continue. Yeah. Then I'll just create and close. I don't need. Just click done. Then I'll have this is there. This will be your service account. So you can see it's enabled. This is the name, description. So you don't have a key, but we have an auth client. So because you have this, then the next obvious thing will be to find this key. So we need to create this key. Once you create your service account, I think it will show up under your. It should be showing up under your I am. Is it I am or I am? If not, try to give it time, but it should be showing under this. So once you are here, no. Let me try to duplicate. So once you're here, I think, is it the service account or I'm missing? So we need to enable, okay, we need to click, just go to service account and click on that newly created. Then we need, for the keys, we need to set up our keys. So we'll have a key. So create a new key or upload the existing, but we need to create a new one. So use JSON. I'll click on JSON, then I'll create a new key. So it will create a key, a private key saved to your computer, blah, blah, blah. So then I can close that. So this one will download this key, and this key, I will show you where we are supposed to use this key. So make sure you download this key. It will be in a JSON file. Then I can just close this. Then these are just the metrics, logs, and the principal access, and so on. Then I'll show you how to create those access. So I think we have data repository. So I think we have our key. Yeah, so we have our key. Then let me see. Permissions. So we have created our key. Then now, where do if you want to download a key, you can create a new key here. Then JSON create it to download that key. That key is important because it gives us access to your the tables or the data sets that you're going to create under a BigQuery. Okay, So once that is done, then I do believe I should be seeing that under, yeah, I should be seeing that under, don't know why I'm not seeing that, but you can give it some time. Then once that is done, do I do, no. So this is where we need to set or give permissions to that the service account we've just created. So once it once it appears under this, then we need to give it the we need to no, grant access, and let me see, data repository, add principals, no. So we need to add new permissions. So these are the roles that I've added to my current one that I'm using. So then I can just add. So you can just click on security insights. Then you can add. You can assign those roles. So it's easier. You just add another role. Then you can just search for let's say BigQuery. BigQuery. Then you can look for slot recommender. Okay, BigQuery slot recommender, studio admin. Then you can just add. So I think I have all this. A BigQuery user. Then you can just add. Do we have a BigQuery user? This job user. Then you can just copy whatever I have. I'm just showing as an example. Then BigQuery user. Then you can just click on save. Then it will add that. You can see no change principal already exists, so it's not going to add that. So then once you add those roles, then it will give us permissions to access this. I don't think it shouldn't take that long, but sometimes it does. So I think it's taking long, but again, that's the process. So once that is done, I think it's enabled. Retail. There's something that I'm missing. Manage details, manage permissions. So this one, manage access, find role. Let me choose the roles. The repository, add a role. Yeah, you can also add those access here, the roles that I'm saying. Well, let's say, let me add something. Let's say data scientist. Okay, let me see if updating policy, run policy analyzer. Now, is it showing itself under this section? So you should be getting that under, let me see. Don't know why it's taking time, but I think that's the entire process on how you're supposed to create that service access. And so, yeah, now you can see it's now appearing under this section. This is the one that we actually created. Then from here, you can again add those permissions. The data scientist, you can remove this. You can add more roles as you want. But for my case, I'm using this one. So don't. Yeah, for my case, I'm using this one. So again, I showed you need to download that. So once you have set this, I think everything is in place. You don't need to worry about that. So your BigQuery is set. So remember we did download that JSON file. So you need to come and create this folder, secrets. Then depending on how you're going to call it, then I can just type the name GCP service account.json or whatever name you're going to name it. Then once that is done, the next thing will be let me clear my workstation. So the next thing will be, once you create your secrets and GCP account service, the next thing will be updating your .env. So this is my Blackblaze key and ID. Then this is your GCP project ID. So data repository. So project ID is this. Let me see. So when you are creating your project, so this is the project ID. So just copy this. That's your project ID. This is my project ID. Then this is the application credentials. So what I've done is that I'm passing the path to that specific file. So you can see GCP service account JSON. I don't want to open the JSON. Everyone will have their JSON file. So this is the file itself. So this is the file to that. Then dataset ID. So how do we set the dataset ID? So the dataset ID, how do we set up the dataset ID? No, not this one. And this. So dataset ID. So once you create your logins, then you need to go back to the BigQuery. So you need to go back to BigQuery. You need to go back to BigQuery. Then you will have to set up your dataset. So it's a little bit conflicting in terms of the names. In a ML system, dataset is the actual data. So you can have different data. So I've interacted with the data analytics team, and for them, datasets, in most cases, they tend to call those as tables. So datasets is a table for data analytics team. So you'll have to create a table. So how do we create a table? So I'll maneuver to home. Then from here, that's where you need to create a table. So you'll have your ID. Then I'll maneuver to not queries, connections. Let me see. Yeah, create a dataset. So you just click on the three dots, then you'll create a dataset. So you create a dataset, give it a dataset ID. Then you can define the locations where you want. So if you're in the US, okay, if you're in the EU, Africa, depending on your location. Again, it's usually recommended that you select the region that is close to whatever zone, whatever region you are. So you can create a region. Then once you create that, you can add some tags. Tags meaning that you can use this to locate the specific data set. Then advanced options, you can add this or look into that if you want. Then you can just click on create dataset. Then the name that we are using, the ID, is the one that you're going to pass under this section. So once you pass this under the section, there's also other thing that I need to also talk about is that when you're looking at the ETL in our config, so each config we were passing this data repository here. So you need to change. I think previously it was ML data something. So we need to also make sure that the target table has the ID itself. So data repository has the ID itself. So make sure that in all target table has the repository itself. So make sure that I also change this. So make sure that this one also reflects the ID. So make sure that the SQL query has the ID itself, so that it's able to locate the specific data set of the table that we will be querying. Also the sensor telemetry, also make sure sensor telemetry, also that one. As for the dimension store, I think it's just I think we're only having 2 columns for that. Okay, so that's it. So make sure that also your ETL config YAML files are having a matching that ID. Once that is set, then I think you are set. Let me just clean up my setup. So once this one is set like this, like the one how I've defined it, then the next thing is obviously to run this. So I'm going to run this afresh. So again, I've commented out the feast. So let me run the Dagster. So I'm running Dagster as my ETL pipeline. So let me launch my terminal. Then Dagster, so Dagster Dev. So Dagster Dev. So this one will launch Dagster. So if you're no, I need to restart my environment. So I'll just say my environment. So conda activate retail omnichannel omnichannel. So conda activate retail omnichannel. So this one will reactivate my conda environment. Then you can run Dagster. It's taking some time, but yeah. So if you see this, I'm working with the VS Code. So if you see this, that means your environment is activated. Then just Dagster Dev. This one will now launch the Dagster itself. So I'd already done a couple of runs, so it might be a little bit faster for now. But if you're doing this for the first time, it will take some time to actually. So yeah, so as you can see, launching a Dagster service. You have to be a little bit patient. Dagster dev, and then you can see loaded the environment variables. Then using temporary. Okay, that's why I did a couple of runs. That's why you can see a temporary directory that we created. Then so it's, let's say it has a stored memory. That means it will run a little bit faster than if you're using for the first time. For the first time, it takes quite some time, but once that one is set, then everything will be as quickly as possible. So launching a Dagster service, so you just have to be patient. So once this one runs, then it will, I think it will give you a link, like an endpoint. Is it an endpoint? Yeah. Yes. I call it an endpoint. It's just a deprecation warning. Then from here, that's when it will provide that, not a symlink, an endpoint. Then that endpoint, we're just going to click on that link, endpoint link, whatever. Instance is confirmed with the following daemons, loaded environment variables. Yeah, so it gives us this server, this one. So then with this one, we can, no, is it 127.300? Yeah. So I think it's something like this. So it will launch something like this. Let me see. Let me rerun this. So control click on this link. Control click on this, then it will launch this. Yeah, so it will launch something like this. So you can see the retail dimension, retail sales, retail targets, and the retail telemetry. Then no, if I no, let me. Yeah, so you can see the tables. So retail dimensions, product dimension store, telemetry, sales. Then the retail sales will generate our targets. Okay, so let me make this to be orientation. Let me make vertical. Yes. Then I can just hide the navigation. Then I can also hide the sidebar. So you can see, then I can just And once you are this, so you can see the different. So we have the lineage. The lineage. Then you can do some a little bit of automations, but we don't have that now. This was the one I was talking about. The jobs. Then you can see the different runs if you have the different runs. Then you can see that for the deployment and so on, you can see all this. So this is where the definitions now comes in. You can see we have the definitions. Then we have the lineage. For the lineage, I'll just do a materialization. So I just materialize all, and then it will run the entire sort of pipeline. So that's how Dagster actually enables us to achieve this. So you can see, you can see materialize all. Then it will soon start executing. Yeah, so you can see prior sorting, checking tag, limits, query runs. Yeah, so you'll see there is some. You can see materializing. So with Dagster, you're able to set how that process essentially you will want it to run. So you can see all tables are now materializing. And on our terminal, yeah, you can see it's priority sorting and checking tag concurrency, limits for queued runs. Okay, so I think it might take some time. But if you have enough resources, the GPUs, then it will be as quickly as possible. It won't take a lot of time for this. Again, our dataset is not quite large. It's just a simple dataset. And so I don't think it's going to take a lot of time. I don't know why it's launch one run. Realize. Let me see. Let me see. Should I restart this? Then okay, let me just close this. Then I can just restart this. Control C. And then I can just restart this afresh. Yeah. Then let me rerun this afresh. So Dagster dev shouldn't be taking this. I don't know why, but it's taking a lot of time. But previously it was just running, running very fast. Any questions? Yeah, you can use getting a Airflow, Dagster, Prefect. Yeah, those are different options you can use to run your ETL. So for this case, I just tried to use Dagster for that. You can use Prefect to also run your ETL pipelines, schedule your ETL pipelines. I prefer the Dagster because it's let's say data centric and so on. So you can even do a quick research on why Dagster is good for such cases and not Airflow. Airflow, I think it's king of the game. So I don't think it's still being utilized when it comes to such processes. And then so I try to use a new tool when it comes to building these pipelines. And so then on my research here and there, Dagster was one of the options that I think can also handle such a process. And so I decided to work with the Dagster. And also ease of setup. That's why Dagster is my friend when it comes to that. So again, if this one runs okay, then we can try out with the different. We can also try out with the Airflow maybe, or maybe when we are running the entire training pipeline, we can instead of Dagster we can use Airflow. Or in a different parts, we can also try to use. Let me see. I don't know why this one is opening and runs are scheduled. Let's go to the lineage. Let's try to visualize all. Then let's see. You can see launched run. I hope this one will run. Yeah, but I think if you're going to get to this point, everything is working as intended. Okay, so this is the Dagster. So you are able to set up Dagster. So I think the next phase will be once we've set Dagster, the next phase will be setting up a feature store. So I'll explain to you how we are setting up the feature store and the main commands that we can use for this feature store and so on. So this might take some time. I don't know why, but again, it might take some time. Maybe my memory and so on. But I think in the next session, we can start from here. So I'll show you if the Dagster did run successfully. And once that is done, we can jump into the feature store first. And once the feast is also set up and running, we can also we can now move on to the model training, EDA model training, and so on. Okay, so I don't want to mhm. This, sometimes it's, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's now running. You can see the steps are launching and all that. My terminal, you can see asset job. So I think it's running, but the only thing is that it's taking quite some time. So I think I'll stop from here, but then I'll just commit this. Then you can also run this on your end. Try to see if you should be getting the different tables and the different tables plus the entity table. So you'll be getting dimensions, retail sales, retail telemetry, plus the retail targets. Targets is the entity table that FIST will be using when it comes to populating that, and also what FIST does is that it will write a SQL query using that entity table. So that means it will look for features and try to merge those features within that given table. Okay. Python JSON log. it's running. Don't know why I'm getting this JSON log and everything, but I think now it's finished asset materialization step success. Yeah, you can now see, you can now, even though before I end the session, let me adjust this a little bit. Then you can see materialize, materialized, materialized, materialized. Let me use change orientation. Yeah, so you can see materialized retail telemetry, retail sales. Then this is the retail target. Yeah, I think as of now, everything is running sumptuously without any problem. So I think by tomorrow, we'll be getting this, the gold table. Then the gold table will be the one that Feast will be using to collect the other features, combine them into a single table. Then, so the goodness with Feast, you'll have to define what features you need. Then Feast will do that job. So you won't need to write those SQL queries and so on. So Feast will do that job for you. Then again, it's a little bit faster than writing custom SQL queries to retrieve that data. Okay, so tomorrow we'll be setting up Feast for that. Okay, I think at least today we have tried to do something. So yeah. So until next time, see you. Okay, and also if you have any suggestion that we could have handled this differently, maybe I would like to hear that. I would like to hear that from you. So until next time, until we meet, see you then.